St. John's, right?
Yes.
Chitla. Dile a, what's his name? El presidente. ¿Cómo se llama? Jim Manja. I'm with him for years. Because I worked at Sage. And Sage and St. John's have used to be the president of our board.
Okay, so now that we are in a couple lines, can I have everybody take one step back? Say one word. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Tell them that Oscar said that.
Okay. Happy to hold anything else.
All right, folks, I'd say 2 or 3 minutes out of that book.
If anyone has a visitor guide, please take it off. I'm happy to take the trash. Yeah.
You have a mask? No. You have an extra mask? Press conference? Yeah. Right.
25 days. Oh, here we go.
Well, Jim used to be the president of our Sage board, and I used to just kick it with him when I was a young organizer, when I first started in 2018. So me and him know each other very well. But I was younger. But tell him he needs to come to our labor and immigrant leaders meeting. I keep reminding him that something always comes up. He just says, I'm sorry, something happened in our obligation. Yeah. Monday? No, he was in St. John's.
Silence is deafening.
MacArthur Park is trending on Truth Social. Number 4. Is that what it's called? What is it called? X. The artist formerly known as Twitter.
Good afternoon. Today, I was on my way to the press conference with the governor talking about the 6-month anniversary of the fires of the natural disaster, the worst in California's recent history, and to report on the progress. While I was on the way, though, I got alerted that there was a ICE operation, military intervention, who knows, at MacArthur Park. I turned around, we went to the park. I could see a helicopter in the air. I think it was a Black Hawk helicopter. And I saw military tanks. It was the Custom and Border Patrol, and it might have been military on the periphery. To me, this is another example of the administration ratcheting up chaos by deploying what looked like a military operation in an American city. So I went to MacArthur Park because it is very important that the truth be told about what happened there. Now, you can spin it any way you like, but in my opinion, it's a political agenda of provoking fear and terror. Frankly, it is outrageous and un-American that we have federal armed vehicles in our parks when nothing is going on in the parks. It's outrageous and un-American that the federal government seized our state's National Guard. It's outrageous and un-American that we have U.S. Marines who are trained to kill foreign soldiers overseas deployed in our American city. So here's the truth. There's no plan other than fear, chaos, and politics. Home Depot one day, a car wash the next, armed vehicles and what looked like mounted military units in a park the next day. What happened to the criminals, the drug dealers, the violent individuals who were in the park today were children. It was their summer camp, their summer day camp. Those kids now have no activities this afternoon. They have to stay inside. They were ushered inside so that they didn't get exposed to the troops that were walking in formation across their playground area. We did not want the children to be aware that it was ICE. Although I do have to tell you that I went and I spoke to an 8-year-old. I never let on what was going on upstairs, but did this 8-year-old tell me that he was afraid of ICE? Did the 8-year-old tell me that he was afraid of ICE taking his parents and he didn't think it was good to take people away? So understand that that 8-year-old knows enough of what's going on that he's already traumatized in anticipation. And I don't know if he had a sixth sense or not to know that they were upstairs. But I think it's pretty dramatic that a child said to me that he was fearful of ICE. So what I saw in the park today looked like a city under siege, under armed occupation. And I have to tell you, spending many years traveling into conflict areas, you know, it's the way a city looks before a coup. The administration is continuing what I have framed as an all-out assault, a military assault on our city, Custom and Border Patrol randomly driving through the streets, snatching people. That is when they're identified. It's Custom and Border Patrol, but we know sometimes they're not identified, so we don't know who they are. Well, I just think it's important that we continue to tell the truth to the American people. There was no protest. There was no disorder that required that. MacArthur Park, we've been working on, the mayor's office and the councilwoman here, Councilwoman Hernandez, have been working on to improve conditions in that park for the last couple of years. And I just want to say, do we have the ability to show this? Because I did want, the world needs to see the troop formation on horses walking through the park. In search of what? In search of what? They are walking through the area where the children play. The children had to be ushered off. What you see is them in a skirmish line with the horses walking through. I do not believe that anyone was detained. Maybe they were. But then again, I don't think the goal is to detain. I think the goal is to spread fear. I think that's what it is. It's to terrorize Angelenos. It's to say to immigrants that are in our city of immigrants that they need to stay home. They shouldn't go to work. They shouldn't go to school because we're coming after you. Let me just acknowledge the organizations behind me. SALAF, the Salvadorian American Leadership and Educational Fund, CHIRLA, Carescen, Clinica Romero, SEIU USWW, SEIU 721, St. John's Clinic. By the way, the St. John's Clinic was attempting to provide medical care to people in the park. They had to shut down because of the troops. Proyecto Pastoral, representatives and staff, local, state, and federal levels, UTLA, and the Central City Neighborhood Partners. With that, let me introduce the President of the City Council, Marquise Harris Dawson.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and thank you to Mayor Bass. The council is very proud that the city at this moment is led by Mayor Bass. It's one of the toughest moments we faced as a city. In a city council of 15 members, it's rare that we all sign on and take the same position forcefully on an issue. And last week, Tuesday, we stood together, all 15 of us, condemning the raids, asking ICE to get out of our city, and indicating that we're going to remain resolute on our status as a sanctuary city. This morning was horrifying for so many of us. I happened to be on the phone with the chief about another matter, and he starts to describe to me what he can see on video happening in MacArthur Park, which by all the videos that we see and all of it and all the inside information that we've gotten, it's not clear that anybody was picked up. It's not clear that there was even a illegitimate immigration enforcement goal for this morning. This morning looked like a staging for a TikTok video. And what we say to Border Patrol as the council, if you want to film in LA, you should apply for a film permit like everybody else and stop trying to scare the bejesus out of everybody who lives in this great city and disrupt our economy. Every day they are here, they disrupt the economy and they cost this state and this city and county millions and millions of dollars in real money, but also the kind you can't count. And that's making people scared to leave their houses and making people scared to go to school and to the doctor and to call the police or the fire department when something is wrong. That is the kind of havoc that's being visited upon our city. And so we're very proud of what's been done in MacArthur Park, and we're going to continue that work. But we need ICE out of LA now. And with that, I'll ask my colleague from the 1st District, who's led, along with the mayor, the great work at MacArthur Park, and it was on the scene very, very early, from the 1st District, Councilmember Advocacy Hernandez.
This morning, we witnessed the latest escalation in the Trump administration's depraved campaign against our city. The National Guard descended onto MacArthur Park, bringing troops, military weapons and equipment, and armored vehicles to a community park, a community hub, a place where families gather. This happened while summer camp was in session at the park, and instead of playing games with their friends, young children were subjected to having to be ushered into the lower part of one of our buildings as terror was taking place in our community, as they were in a space where United States soldiers were there with weapons here against Americans in the city of LA. MacArthur Park is the Ellis Island of the West Coast. It was chosen as this administration's latest target precisely because of who lives there and what it represents: resilience, diversity, and the American dream. It is no coincidence that the president would target a place that so clearly embodies the values he has spent his time in office trying to destroy. When we invade and surveil our own neighborhoods, when we scapegoat and demonize immigrants, when we disregard due process, we are no longer living under the rule of democracy. We are living under occupation and authoritarianism. The actions from the federal government over the last month do not represent the values of our city or of our country. Sending United States soldiers to intimidate children at camp and señoras at the bus stop is not making anyone safer. Raiding Home Depots is not stopping crime. Tearing families away from their children isn't upholding family values. And let me be clear, the cruelty and the chaos that we see is the point. But Los Angeles will continue to support our families, will continue to resist, we will continue to have each other's back, and we will continue to demand the immediate withdrawal of federal troops and ICE in our city. And now a call to all electeds and all people all across the country, from local cities, municipalities, jurisdictions, aldermen, governors, everybody. Please understand that what's happening here in the city of Los Angeles, we are the canary in the coal mine. What you see happening in MacArthur Park is coming to you. $140 billion new budget for ICE. What do you think that's going to do? That's going to transport what's happening here in our neighborhoods to your front doorstep. So wake up. It's not happening by accident. So please, please watch what's happening. Please support Los Angeles. Please support California. But also, we need to work together to figure out how to make sure that authoritarianism doesn't take over our country. And very briefly in Spanish. Hola, buenos días. Yo me llamo Eunices Hernández, soy la concejal representando el primer distrito aquí en la ciudad de Los Ángeles, que también incluye el vecindario y la área de MacArthur Park. Hoy lo que vimos ocurrir en MacArthur Park fue que agentes federales llegaron en caballos, con trocas militares, con pistolas, a tomar espacio, a crear terror y miedo aquí en nuestra comunidad. No tenemos los números de gente que se han llevado o se han robado. No pensamos que se han llevado gente, pero lo que ocurrió hoy fue una acción para intimidar a nuestra comunidad, para que gente no salga de sus casas. Y ahorita lo que quiero que entiendan la gente es que prepárense, recuérdense sus números, hagan sus planes, cuiden sus hijos, hagan lo que tienen que hacer para mantener sus familias juntas, y nosotros vamos a tratar y figurar cómo podemos apoyar nuestras familias. Y también para agentes y representantes en otras partes del país, entiendan lo que está ocurriendo aquí en nuestra ciudad, que está ocurriendo en MacArthur Park, eso va a llegar muy pronto a ustedes. Más de 140 billones de dólares nuevos en el presupuesto del Departamento de ICE. ¿Qué ustedes creen que va a pasar con ese nuevo dinero? Lo que está ocurriendo aquí va a llegar a otras partes. O por favor, abren los ojos y apoyen a sus comunidades para que podamos sobrevivir lo que está ocurriendo. Y le quiero dar muchísimas gracias a nuestro alcalde y también a nuestro presidente del concilio, que han estado trabajando muy duro, hablando con representantes de todo el país para asegurarse que nuestras familias no sean arrebatadas, que no sean impactadas. So, muchísimas gracias por su apoyo. Thank you.
Let me now introduce Maria Soria from the St. John's Community Health Street Medicine Team.
Hi, my name is Maria. I work for St. John's medical team, street medicine. I'm sorry, I'm nervous for street medicine. Every Monday we go to MacArthur Park to help the homeless, give them their basic needs, and any person that needs medical help. And today when we were doing outreach, the military pointed their guns at us and they were screaming at us, cursing to get the fuck out of there. And we were all scared, because we were there to help, the homeless, and we couldn't even give them the basic needs. So this is my supervisor, Jessica.
Yeah, we're part of street medicine at St. John's. We provide medical services to the homeless people. We provide basic human rights to the patients, and we were there to support the immigrant community, anyone that's there that's homeless in need. We provide them a lot of services, and they told my team to leave. And even though we were not doing anything wrong, we were really scared at the moment. So they pointed guns at us. They surrounded our van. They were looking at our van. They were talking to each other as they were looking at our van. So I'm not sure if they were thinking of coming towards us, which they did. But for a moment, I thought they were going to actually target us. So it's really unfortunate that we can't do our work anymore safely, provide healthcare to people that really need it, because we're in fear, even though we're not doing anything wrong.
Looking for the hardened criminals with St. John's Clinic. In your van and in their booth that they had to close down. Let me introduce Jeanette Zanipatan, the Director of Policy and Advocacy for Chirla.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Sanipatin. I'm the Director of Policy and Advocacy at Chirla. At nearly 31 days after the military siege of Los Angeles by the federal government started, more than 2,300 Angelenos have disappeared and uprooted from their homes and communities. One of the largest concentrations of armed personnel gathered today in the heart of Pico Union at MacArthur Park in Wilshire to inflict terror and confusion simply because they can. This is antagonism towards a whole city, cruelty to the maximum, and chaos for the sake of chaos. This isn't immigration enforcement. It's an assault of American values, and if it can happen in Los Angeles, it can happen anywhere. This doesn't just harm immigrants, it destabilizes communities. Our local economy is suffering, and public safety is compromised for all of us, and we are all less secure. Whatever these operations are about, they must stop. The random psychological warfare on Los Angeles and communities, our surrounding communities, must stop immediately, and our neighbors and loved ones must be released and come home. We call on the community to remember to exercise their rights, to remain calm, and to contact one of the Rapid Response Network numbers, such as 1-888-624-4752, should they need any referrals or assistance. I'm going to repeat this in Spanish. Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Janet Sanipatin. Soy la directora de Abogacía y Política en Chirla. Casi después de 31 días del inicio de las operaciones de ataque militar en Los Ángeles por parte del gobierno federal, con más de 2,300 angelinos desaparecidos y separaciones de sus hogares y de sus familias. Una de las mayores concentraciones de personal armado se reunió hoy día en el corazón de Pico Union, en el parque de MacArthur Park, para sembrar puro terror y confusión simplemente porque quieren. Los cambios tácticos seguimos mirando de esta administración muestran que su crueldad no tiene límites. Y la razón por qué lo hacen es porque pueden y quieren nada más. Esto no es control migratorio, es un ataque a los valores estadounidenses. Y si puede ocurrir aquí en Los Ángeles, puede ocurrir en cualquier lugar. Esto no solo perjudica a los inmigrantes, sino sirve para desestabilizar a las comunidades enteras. Nuestra economía local sufra y también la seguridad pública para todos sufra igualmente. Sea cual sea el propósito de estas operaciones, debe de parar. La guerra psicológica y discriminada a Los Ángeles y a las comunidades debe cesar de inmediato, y nuestros vecinos y seres queridos deben ser liberados y regresar a sus casas. Hacemos un llamado a la comunidad que se recuerde ejercer sus derechos, mantener la calma y comunicarse con los números de la red de respuesta rápida, como el número 888-624-4752, si necesitan ayuda o asistencia de cualquier manera. Aquí estamos para apoyar a la comunidad. Gracias.
Before I open it up for questions, I just wanted to make two quick points, which is, I don't know if it was the goal of the administration to divide this city. It has failed. This city stands united. You don't see opposition out there saying we need to deport people. The fact that there's so many people behind me, and by the way, this was pulled together in a very, very short amount of time, I think is an example of the urgency and the outrage that we all feel. When I got to MacArthur Park, by the way, and my purpose was, one, to witness what was going on, but then when I got there, to do what I could to stop it. And so I asked the person, an individual from the Custom and Border Patrol, who was in charge. They put me on the phone with the individual. I said that this needed to end. What was the purpose in them being here? But it absolutely needed to end. He said that they would be leaving within minutes. And I believe a few minutes later they left, but they clearly had been there for a while With that, let me open it up and I'll turn it over to Zach.
First question to Alex, then down in front of Orange, and then up here to
Mayor Bass, it's now been 30 days since the first major operation that kind of led to this string of protests. Anything else you'd like to add about what you've seen the past 30 days and your message to the community, as it's clear that the feds say they're going to continue on with this work in Los Angeles?
Well, my message to Angelenos is, and I'll say it over and over again, we are a city of immigrants, and we support Angelenos, period, regardless of when they got here, where they came from, or why they're here. And we're going to continue to stand strong. We know that there are entire sectors of our economy that cannot function without immigrant labor. We also know the pain and the suffering and the lifelong trauma that this does to families, in particular to children, not to know where their parents might be or might not be one day to the next. I think that is very important that we always make that clear, and that we continue to push back and use every possible means we have, and one of which is legal, and the other one is with organizing and expressing our collective outrage.
We're going to go Rachel and then Pete and then Noah.
Can you talk about, is there any sense of a timeline when these federal operations are going to cease in the city of Los Angeles?
No, there's no sense. And then, you know, frankly, we are managing by rumor. And so when we hear of a rumor, which we had heard rumors about MacArthur Park for some time, and today they came to fruition, which was a real, you know, again, just such a disservice to the city. What was going on? Now, just by chance, I drove by MacArthur Park this morning on my way here, as I often do. And the park was quiet. There were some of the usual actors that are there until we deal with the addiction, you know, and mental illness. But that's the whole point of St. John's Clinic. That's the whole point of the healthcare providers. That's the effort the Councilwoman has been leading, is that we need a comprehensive response to the area. But your question, I'm sorry, no, we don't know how long this is going to last. I've heard 30 days, I've heard 60 days.
We're going to go Pete and then Noah, and if folks could say what outlet it was.
Madam Mayor, would you say that this was a pushback by the federal government regarding the statements that most of the people here have said over the last 30 or 40 days regarding this is LA,
You know,
out, everything else, and they're responding by saying, sorry, this is federal law, we're going to enforce it?
You know, if that's the case, if our troops would be used in that manner to push back because of statements that have been made, that's extra outrageous. That's a use of our tax dollars. That's a misuse of the young women and men who sign up to serve. I think of the National Guard that are here unnecessarily. They've pulled people away from their families, away from their work, away from their school. People wind up losing jobs. They wind up not finishing their education for somebody's political stunt.
Was there anything more that Mr. Bovino told you in that conversation?
No, not in that conversation, no. He just said that he would be getting them out.
He would be getting them out. Well, there's a comment from a reporter who spoke with Mr. Bovino. Quote, this is Mr. Bovino's words, not mine. I don't work for Karen Bass. Better get used to us now because this is going to be normal very soon. We'll go anywhere, anytime we want to in Los Angeles. Unquote.
Maybe he needs to work for Karen Bass. I know, he works for the President of the United States.
Is there a time perhaps to lower the rhetoric and lower the temper of the rhetoric on both sides if you need one?
Absolutely, as soon as they stop marching troops that disrupt our kids in parks. Yes, and then you know, Pete, I mean, there's conversations that happen in public, and then there's other conversations too. What did you say?
This was not, since you said nobody was arrested, and I didn't even determine if anybody was arrested or not. This looked purely like it was reconnaissance. They were going through the area.
You don't need troops to do that. And by the way, how about using undercover folks or drones? They really needed to use all of that military equipment as reconnaissance?
Yeah, so you think it was just a dog and pony show?
Well, I call it a political stunt. If you want to call it a dog and pony show, go right ahead. Same thing.
With this going on for more than a month now, are you starting to feel like you're not even in control of the situation, or
No, I will never feel helpless, and I don't think anybody here feels helpless. That's not in our DNA. We're going to continue fighting.
Summer of resistance. Started the summer.
Mayor Bass, he's calling for you to get used to it. What is your...
I'm not going to get used to it. I'm not going to get used to it because last I checked, I was elected to be mayor of the city. That did not include a federal takeover. So either you believe in democracy or you don't.
Did he say those words to you on the phone?
Did he say what? To get used to it? No. No.
You're saying that happened in a later conversation.
No, he didn't say that. He didn't talk to me the way he talked to you. I think he knows better.
We're going to go down in front and then over to the...
Mayor Bass, for the past 30 days, I've been hearing a lot of statements about how we are against the raids, how we oppose the raids. What I haven't been hearing from your office, or really from city council offices, what is being done? Are there any executive actions? Are there any legislative actions? Are there actions that are going to be concrete that is going to stop or prevent these?
So let me just tell you, and then I'll also, of course, turn it over to my council colleagues. I think our actions have been concrete. There will be an executive directive coming out from me in the next few days. But one of our recourses is legal, and working with our city attorneys as well as outside attorneys, some of whom are here. So filing lawsuits, still having faith in at least one branch of our government, the judiciary, in hopes that we could get this stopped. Would you?
You said in the next few days. I mean, it's been a month. Why the long term?
Well, I don't think it's the long-term route. You have seen us responding every single day to the extent of our abilities, but you also know that it's been tough here not knowing what exactly they were going to do. And then there is the limits. So the federal government can drive into Sacramento and seize power, which is what they did. But we have to fight back in our only way possible. Would you like to respond? Okay. Next.
Last question right here.
I would like to ask Ms. Hernandez if you could in Spanish for our audience in El Mundo. You put it on, please. El alcalde se acaba de decir que no se ha desesperado, que no se han dado convencidos, que está haciendo algo. ¿Qué le diría a esa gente que está desesperada, se está dando policía y está asustadísima? Yo creo que no parece haber un recurso que el gobierno local pueda hacer para defender.
Lo que quiero que la gente entienda es que el gobierno federal sí tiene poderes, quieren entrar, quieren tomar posesión del estado y de la ciudad. Lo que necesito es que ellos hablen a sus miembros del concilio, porque nosotros podemos apoyar con asegurarse que no prendan sus viviendas, asegurarse que tengan comida en casa. Eso es lo que podemos hacer y lo que estamos haciendo. También estamos haciendo entrenamientos para que gente conozca sus derechos, y no nomás para nuestras comunidades inmigrantes, negocios chicos y todos en la comunidad, y enseñándole a la gente cómo pueden responder cuando estas situaciones están ocurriendo, cómo filmar, cómo tomar información para que podamos guardar evidencia para apoyar a nuestra gente. No le voy a decir que nosotros tenemos la pastilla mágica, que tenemos las soluciones, que tenemos todas las protecciones para que no entren a nuestra ciudad. No tenemos ese poder, pero donde estamos peleando es en las cortes, donde estamos también peleando es aquí localmente y pasando leyes para mantener a contabilidad con nuestros departamentos aquí en la ciudad, y también enseñando a la gente cómo pueden apoyar a sus miembros de la comunidad y tomando evidencia y todo eso. Eso es lo que quiero decir. Por eso la gente tiene que prepararse, tiene que conocer sus números, tiene que saber a quién hablarles si están en una situación crítica, dónde van a estar sus hijos. Esto no es algo para dejar, ojalá va a ocurrir, eso es no. Toma los pasos para proteger su familia y contáctese con su representante local para ver cómo podemos apoyar con las cosas que pueden mantener sus familias en sus viviendas y comida en su mesa.
I don't believe that one bit. I think that if that were the case, there would have been coordination. But by the way, we have a police department. Police department is fully capable of dealing with this issue. There's a gang unit within the police department. The police department is used to collaborating with whoever they need to collaborate with to address it. And if that's the case, so like, where are the MS-13 guys? Where are they? Thank you, everyone.